Hi, welcome to Realtors Conspiracy Podcast. I have Tony Iacoviello again today, brought his awesome geeky t-shirt, so always on brand.
Always have to be consistent that way.
Nice.
Thanks for having me again. It's always awesome to talk to you.
No problem, thank you. Today we're going to talk about your social media strategy, we talked about your brand before, but now how do you go about social media? Where do you start?
I have no idea what I'm doing. Honestly, I have fun with it. There is a bit of a method to the madness. I try to be as regular and consistent with what I am doing. I think, absolutely. I think that's how people established themselves on YouTube back in the day when it first got started. It's like you didn't necessarily need the best content. You didn't necessarily need the highest quality videos or anything like that, but people knew that you were going to be there every Tuesday or every day or whatever it was, talking about whatever it was you were talking about. So like TV shows, like they kind of got used to a schedule that you're going to be there Thursday nights, we're going to watch Friends or whatever it is. Yeah. So when I'm on social media, I try to be as consistent in terms of time-wise as I can be. I started doing interviews recently with a lot of different people. I started doing them for AREA with the reality conference that they had and kind of continued on. It's kind of like this podcast here, vlog. So I try to do them Wednesdays and Fridays at like 12:30 Eastern time. So it's very consistent that way. And usually the Wednesday ones are more real estate focused, like market updates, what's happening in the city, what's happening as far as government regulations go and all that sort of thing. And then usually the Friday ones are like interviews, like fun interviews with like just people I find interesting in real estate. So they are established real estate agents, but they have something unique about them. Like Sarah Kalke was a competitive horse rider. And Jessica Hellard in Kingston started the animal rescue there. So it had this extra little thing outside of real estate that they do. But it's pretty consistent every Wednesday and Friday at 12:30. You can find me on my Facebook Live doing an interview of some sort or a broadcast of some sort. And then in between, it's just kind of like whatever I feel like doing, whenever I feel like doing them. But I am conscious of when people are using social media. So especially for the live broadcasts, I want to be there when it's more likely that people will see me.
So you look at the insights, you look at the stats, you look at stuff. You don't go random.
No. I mean, there's the odd random ones, like we're just having fun. Like I'll be out somewhere and I'll see something interesting and I'll go on or I'll think of something. But generally speaking, if I'm going to actually do some sort of talk about something, then it's a little bit more planned, right? So I know that, in the evenings, around 7 o'clock in the evenings, that's kind of when people, at least people who are interested in my page, when they're most active. I can see that through the insights and all that sort of stuff. So that's when I'm going to be on, right? And I think, again, like TV, think about like TV stations. They do advertising and stuff, which I do a little bit as well. Like I kind of let people know in advance that I'm going to be on this day, on this time with this person. So they can kind of adjust their schedules for it. But again, they're on in prime time, right? So the best shows show up when the most people are watching so they can get the most ratings, right? That's kind of the same approach I take for social media.
Yeah. In your approach with social media, any mistakes that you've done so far, anything you've learned from?
Oh, tons. I think everything is trial and error. Like you kind of got to figure out what it is that your audience wants to hear about, right? Yeah. So you have to keep tracking. You always have to keep measuring, even just with like regular real estate. Like if you're doing open houses and they're not working, then maybe either you change what you're doing or you find something else that is going to work. So social media is kind of the same thing. And it's like, by tracking, you'll know that, okay, when I talked about this topic, a lot of people were interested and a lot of people watched. When I talked about these topics, nobody cared, right? So you kind of will tailor your content to match that. Sometimes there's things that you just want to talk about because you want to talk about them, right? So you just do, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your goal is to get people interested, then you've got to match the content with the viewer, right? So you've got to be there as the resource as to what they expect from you. Like nobody expects me to get up and sing. So if I got up on Facebook and started doing that, people might tune in for a laugh. Yeah. But then, after a while, they're going to be like, what's this guy doing? And they're just going to stop watching me because I'm horrible. But I'm a real estate agent. That's what I know about, and that's what I talk about. So over time, they get to trust you as a resource for that, right? So they'll keep coming back. And you build that likability and that trust, which is necessary eventually for sales.
Yeah.
Right?
We talk about funky videos that were too out there earlier, without mentioning stuff. But
Sure.
what's your reasoning behind doing an extreme video that goes viral, but how does it help you as an agent for your business?
It can and it can't. I think for the most part, I'm not really worried about things going viral too much. I mean, everybody throws that word around a lot. So yeah, like we were discussing, you can get some really funny videos. Real estate people do it, other people do it too, and they get like thousands, if not millions of hits and that kind of thing. And ultimately, you really have to ask, what was your intention, right? So if the whole thing was just to get eyeballs on you, then great. But again, like if I'm a real estate agent here in Hamilton, Burlington, and my intention is to get clients here in Hamilton, Burlington, or people who are interested in moving into the area, my video, if I made a really crazy, funny video of me like falling down and hitting my head or something, or dancing like a fool to something or other, and there's a bunch of teenagers in Siberia that are laughing their heads off at me and stuff, I mean, that's great, but ultimately it doesn't help me, right? So what's my return on investment? Because I've invested some time and I've invested energy into creating that. And you know what? Maybe it's just personal satisfaction. I had fun doing it, so great. Hey, knock yourself out. But if you are doing it for a business purpose, like if you're doing that to advertise a property and nobody's paying attention to the property, but they're all paying attention to you, some people would say that's a good thing. I'm of the opinion that probably not. Again, you're just kind of there to entertain people. You're not really educating them about the product you're trying to sell. You're not really letting them know about you and what you do, other than the fact that you're funny or whatever it is that it is.
Goofy,
yeah, and then to maintain that, like, again, I think we were discussing before, it's like, that it's that one-hit wonder kind of thing, right? Like these bands from the 80s that had that one song that was really fantastic and then never did anything else. So you get this one video that goes viral and everybody's crazy about it, and then within a week they don't know who you are. So unless you come out again with something even crazier, and just to try and capture their attention again. But then you become known as the person that makes crazy funny videos, and not necessarily the real estate agent in Hamilton that I need to depend on, or the resource for real estate information, or anything like that. You just become known as that funny guy, right? And again, leave it up to anybody to do what you want. For me, that doesn't seem to be the most effective use of my time and my resources.
So you're thinking intention, professional, effective in terms of return, local. Real estate is local-ish, so you have to be.
I think it has to be targeted, right? Like if I'm working in Hamilton, Burlington, like the other day there was a newsworthy event in Binbrook where I am. So there was a local house that unfortunately caught fire. So I happened to be in the area. I shared some information about it, but it was on my Homes in Binbrook page, so it was very targeted to that local area because those are the people most concerned about it. And it got thousands of views because it was something that was meaningful to them. So now, over time, I mean, I don't talk about house fires all the time. I talk about, the local farmers market, with the library, they're building a new school. So you sort of develop that reputation within that very targeted community that you are the resource for that community. If somebody wants to know what's happening there, including real estate that's for sale there, or why should I move there, then I become that resource for them, as opposed to, just spreading that across the country, which is great. I mean, but again, like, somebody in northern Alberta probably doesn't really, aside from the wow factor of watching a video of a house on fire, they really don't care about Binbrook or where I am and what I'm doing, kind of thing. So I'd rather take, if I'm going to spend any money on it, especially in terms of marketing, I'd rather it be very tightly targeted to people who I want to work with, right? As opposed to just spreading it out as thin as I can, as wide as I can, and hoping that somebody somewhere likes me.
Yeah. So you'd rather have 1,000 views versus 10,000 views, as long as they're local, targeted, smart.
Yeah, as long as I know that it's reaching the right people. Right? Like I said, my kids might watch a funny YouTube video, but they're not going to buy a house from me anytime soon. They're 12 and 15, right? So, I'd rather have 1,000 views if I'm selling somebody's house, especially. And, I've used you to make the videos and 3D tours, and I'll use that as part of the marketing. And I'll target that specifically to the local area, because the majority of buyers are going to come from the local area, and other specific areas. So I'm in Hamilton, and certain areas of Hamilton, I know that a lot of buyers come from Mississauga, or a lot of buyers come from Milton or Brampton. So I will target those specific areas because I know We have a history of buyers coming from there. We have statistics that show that. And then I can go back to the people whose house I'm trying to sell and say, well, here's what I've done to try and help you sell your house to the people who are most likely to buy it, as opposed to coming back and saying, well, we got 100,000 views all across Canada, but I don't know if any of them would even care about your house, right?
Speaking of that, when you say, do you post, let's say you have a house for sale, do you post it as a post on your page and then create separate campaigns for each area that you're targeting?
I do. I do it on the business page. I try not to do it as much on the personal profile. Because you're not allowed. So, technically, Facebook rules, you're not supposed to sell anything there, even though lots of people do. And people tend to get tired of that. Like, if people who are my friends, my true friends and family, they don't necessarily mind me doing real estate updates because it's information that's useful to them. Most of the people I know are in Hamilton, Burlington market. So, to give them a little bit of information about what the market's doing is great. But to tell them about specific houses that are for sale or open houses, they're kind of like, ugh, more? More advertising? Like, I don't want to see it. So it's on the business page specifically because that's, if you are a fan of the business page, then you're interested in the business. Right? So the posts will go there, but then for sure, I'll go into the ads manager and create an overall campaign with a bunch of different ad sets underneath. So one of them ad sets might be promoting the open house that's coming up. Another ad set is just general information about the house. Another one is to book a showing for the property. So it'll be asking people if they're interested in booking a showing to view the property. And they'll all be targeted to specific areas and age ranges, because I'm not going to advertise like $1 million house to someone who's like 17, 18, because it just probably won't happen. And then we track. So after a few days or a week, we'll go back and we'll look at the stats and we'll say, look, well,
with your sellers, you'll sit down with them.
Yeah, I'll sit down with the sellers and then we'll look at it and say, well, look, based on what Facebook is showing me, this particular ad with this particular video got a big response, and it was like 75% of the people who responded were female. Of the females that responded, 80% of them were, between the ages of 35 and 45. And we can see that. So then the next week when we advertise, we narrow it down just to those people and try, because that's the audience that seems to be responding to that video. The next ad might have just had a photo and it might have been all men or mostly men or equally men and women, but only between the ages of 40 and 50. So then we'll target it to those people and we keep refining it over and over and over again so that we're funneling our marketing dollars to the audience that's going to respond best.
So you not just put on a sign and then go home and have a beer on the couch and wait for the house to sell?
No. I wish. That would be easy. But it, generally speaking, takes more than that to sell a house, especially in this market.
How much time would you spend if you have a listing, marketing this listing online, usually?
For me, the actual time that I spent is reduced because I outsource a lot, right? So I don't shoot my own property videos. That's why I hire you. Right, because I don't want to have to buy all the equipment and like keep up to date with all the equipment and all this sort of stuff. And I don't have the hours it takes to edit them, honestly. And the most successful agents that I know that use video don't edit their own videos. They're busy talking to clients. Like last week, every night last week, Monday to Friday, from about 6 p.m. till about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I was out showing anywhere from 6 to 12 houses every night, driving around the city and getting ready for that during the day, getting the information that I needed, setting up the appointments, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to come home at 10 o'clock at night to have to edit, 4 listing videos and spend hours doing that. That's why I hire you. And you do it every day, so you do it much better than ever I could. So that part of it, I don't even have to worry about. I have to show up to let you in so you can go and do your thing. And then I just take that. But then the Facebook ads, same thing. Like for me, it's easy. And because I've done it enough times, it's actually fairly easy for me. I know how to write the copy. I know how to target it pretty quickly. So you know what, for a single listing, I might spend an hour, maybe 2, just getting it all set up. And then we let it run for the week kind of thing, or a few days, whatever it is. Go back and track it along the way and get the information, communicate with the seller, say, hey, it's been up for a day. Here's what we've seen in the first day. Here's been 2 days, 3 days, and just keep in contact with them. and then we see where it goes from there. But even then, at that level, if I get to the point where, you know, I'm really busy doing real estate, that is my job. This is doing real estate. So then at that point, if I get too busy for that, I know other digital marketers who will do that for me.
To outsource it.
Yeah, so once I get the, you know, the videos and photo from you and the 3D tour and all that, I just forward it to them and they already know what I want to do. So then I pay them like a per listing or whatever it is, and they set up the campaigns, they target them, and whether it's, and it serves two purposes. Like we do market the listings, of course, to try and get them sold, but then, you know, we also use them to generate future business for myself.
Yeah, branding
right?
yourself.
Yeah, because there's, you know, 10,000 people might see a video for a home, but only one person's going to buy it.
Yes.
Right? So those other 9,900 something people,
You need an agent.
there's some other people, they're obviously looking for a house, right? So if they choose me and they want me to help them, then that's just a lead for me to take somewhere else. So they serve both purposes.
Do you do day-to-day posts or do you schedule a lot?
I don't schedule anything. No, I can't. I did for a while. Like if I'm going to a conference, I will. So like I think I mentioned in the previous video, I worked for Remax at a conference for a while. I was at the AREA conference not too long ago. They'll get me to go and comment on things that are happening or interview people. So when I'm there, it's difficult to really do a lot of pre-planned stuff. So before I go, I'll actually schedule a bunch of things to come out during the day. So like at the Remax conference, I actually posted the schedule throughout the day. So people could look on my Twitter feed and be like, oh, this hour, this is what's happening, this is where you go, kind of thing. But other than that, everything else I do, nothing is really scheduled. I might post something like late at night and I know that nobody's really gonna see it, and the way the Facebook feed works is that it just keeps getting bumped down, right?
Yeah.
So if it's really late at night and I want something to show up on my Homes in Binbrook page, then I might schedule that one to come out at like 8:30 in the morning the next day, just that one post. But I don't really use like, we used to use
the
like
beginning of the week
Hootsuite and all that stuff to kind of market stuff out and say these posts come out at these times. It doesn't seem to work. The social media sites have kind of caught on, and they actually, from what I understand, they downgrade those ones. So if they can tell that it's like a Hootsuite or a Clout or something like that that's posting on your behalf, they actually show it to fewer people because it's a scheduled post, and they prefer the live stuff.
Yeah.
Facebook especially, and Instagram, they prefer the live video feeds and that sort of thing. So we go where the eyeballs are. We go to the live feeds.
Nice. How does social media have been benefiting you so far? Did you get more listings? Do you feel like, do you have a way to track it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I can just see my business growing, and I can look at, you know, the more I get involved, especially with the videos part of it and the interviews part of it, because the majority of my business is realtor referrals. So I do have past clients referrals and all this kind of stuff, but the majority of the business that I acquire is other realtors from other towns referring people to me to come live in Hamilton. So whether it's from Ottawa, Toronto, I have a client now who was originally from Ajax but has been living in Inuvik, Northwest Territories for the last 2 years, and now they're moving to come to Hamilton. So the Ajax agent, who's a friend of their family, referred them to me in Hamilton, and all this kind of thing. So using social media has kind of kept me top of mind with that community. So a lot of, again, tailoring your content to your audience, a lot of the interviews that I do are about real estate. So they're about what agents are doing around the country, what the conditions are like around the country, team building, marketing in real estate, and things related to it. And I find I do get a lot of non-realtors watching because I know who they are. So I can see past clients tuning in and check, and they tell me, it's like, I watch your market updates because I want to know what's happening. But I recognize a lot of the people that tune in as being other realtors I know from like Saskatchewan and BC and East Coast. And they're sort of watching me, and they know that, okay, if I need to refer somebody to an agent in Hamilton, this guy seems to know what's happening in Hamilton. He's the guy that I should refer them to. And my business has gone from like virtually like 0 realtor referrals to about 65% realtor referrals in about 3 years.
That is fantastic. That is huge.
Yeah, and so I mean, anecdotally, you can look at it that way and be like, if that social media component didn't exist, so I got exposure from doing the Remax conferences and doing all that, but continuing that after the fact. So staying top of mind, staying in touch with people that way. Because Facebook, I said it from the very beginning, and I think it's still true, is that it's sort of replaced the billboard,
Yes.
right? It is the billboard or the bench ad in people's homes. So it's like they're just scrolling through and they'll see your face. Like they're just driving down the road and they'll see your face, right? So Facebook has replaced that, and most people log into Facebook a couple times a day, like the overwhelming majority of people in Canada even. So just you being in the feed, whether just talking about your local community, even if they don't stop and watch that particular video, just you being there gives you that impression, that mind share, right? And so I think that a lot of it you can track, like when you're doing the ads, you can see who saw it and all that kind of stuff. But when you're doing the videos on Facebook, you can see how many people have watched it, but it's harder to make a connection to say, I got this specific referral because I did these 10 videos, right?
No.
But you do know that over time, you start to see that grow, and these people mention to you that they watch your videos and stuff, so you can loosely make that connection.
Yeah, and the connection of my business grew in the referral specifically 65% throughout these years.
Yeah, and then you see, what did I do last year versus this year? And last year I didn't really do a lot of videos, and then the next year I did more, and the next year I did more, and these things are growing and can in lockstep with that, and it's like, okay, that's a pretty good indicator that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. What would you say to an agent that's a little bit overwhelmed, like 3 things, action that they should be doing?
Investing in Facebook ads, that's probably the easiest thing. So I would take most of my marketing dollars if you're having trouble figuring out where it should go, whether I should buy a ton of postcards or do this or do that kind of thing. Facebook, I think, will give you the best return on investment.
Yeah.
The second thing is probably to outsource. Like I said, it's an investment in your business. That's the way I see it. So I'd contact yourself to do media type stuff. If you want the digital marketing that goes after the fact, there's tons of people available that will do that for you. And that way you can focus on just the business. And the third part is just having a mentor, right? And whether it's an individual person or a group, people that have mixed experience in the business. I wouldn't necessarily follow one very narrow path, but a lot of people with mixed experience that you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, and be honest with, and say, look, what do I do? Like, I'm a brand new agent. I've never run my own business before. I've worked for other people and they told me what to do. But now I've got my own business. I don't know what to do. When I show up on Monday morning, what do I do? Like, what's the first, aside, I have a desk, I have a chair, now what, right? And just to talk to these people and say, okay, when I started out, here's how I built my database, here's how I built my business. And business advice, like here's how you establish a business, here's how you pay your taxes, here's how you get your accountant. And
I'm a huge fan of coaching, mentoring.
Yeah, and just figuring out what are the pitfalls? What are the things that you can, the really obvious things that people don't see until it happens to them. Right? Like, what things should I avoid doing? Those are probably the biggest things that a mentor can tell you, right? Because after that, how you deal with clients, how you follow up with them really will depend on your personality. Like, what thing fits better with you. Like, and even social media. Like, if it's some people love Facebook, like that comes second nature to them and they do that. Some people love Instagram and can't understand Twitter. So it really depends on, what just fits with your personality. That'll go that way. But as far as like the really big roadblocks to avoid, a mentor or a coach and that kind of thing can really help you get around those.
Cool. Social media, where can we find you? What do you have? Where are you?
I'm
everywhere?
at The Geeky Agent everywhere you go.
Everywhere.
So just at The Geeky Agent, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Tumblr, you name it, PlayStation Network. Just look up The Geeky Agent. I'm there, thegeekyagent.com.
Nice.
I'm there. And all my contact info is there, like phone numbers, emails, all that kind of stuff. But look up The Geeky Agent anywhere and you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely. Thank you.